Hi there, students. White knuckle as an adjective. Well, white knuckle are when your knuckles go white. So why would your knuckles go white? Because you're holding on to something very, very tight. And why would you do that? Because you're terrified. You might do it because you're angry as well. You could say white knuckle fury, but most normally white knuckle, the most common collocation, is a white knuckle ride at the fairground. You know, one of these roller coasters that goes round and backwards and forwards. This is a white knuckle ride. A ride that causes fear, suspense. It makes you very nervous. Kids love the white knuckle rides at the fair. It's extremely exciting. Yeah, you're gripping so tight that your knuckles go white. Yeah, and then from that, any extremely worrying, extremely nerve-wracking situation, a white knuckle situation. So the plane made a white knuckle emergency landing in the fog, and I thought we were going to die. I got on the back of his motorbike, and he took me for a white knuckle ride round central London. I was terrified that we were going to crash. I thought, I'm going to die any moment. Okay, and this is the idea of white knuckle. White knuckle, your knuckles go white because you're holding on so tight. Kids love white knuckle roller coasters, but nowadays they just make me sick. The trip was in the trip down the motorway was in fog and driving rain, and it was a real white knuckle journey. There were a couple of white knuckle moments where we nearly hit the back of a truck. Okay, he's always frightened of these things. This makes him white knuckled. You can even use it as a verb. I white knuckled the coffee cup in order not to drop it, holding it very tightly. The woman beside me was white knuckling the armrest during the entire flight. Okay, so yes, I always find going to the dentist is a bit of a white knuckle experience. Okay, so it's something that's makes you frightened or sometimes excited as well, usually both at the same time. So white knuckle grip, white knuckle driving, white knuckle tactics that terrify everyone, a white knuckle negotiation, I guess white knuckle management, where you're managing a situation or a company and there is possible disaster at every turn. Okay, so white knuckle. Driving with him is a white knuckle experience. The theme park is promoting its newest white knuckle drive. The plane made a white knuckle approach to the fogged in airport. Okay, so the white knuckle crowd love this type of thing. So it's something that's making you very tense, something that's making you very nervous. This is a white knuckle situation, and we don't know how it's going to work out in the end. Okay, so a white knuckle fairground ride, a large machine where the ride is very exciting, very frightening. A white knuckle roller coaster. A hellish white knuckle ride through London traffic, yeah. They even have a phrase, a white knuckle paddler. The Canadians used to talk about a very timid canoeist who's holding on to the paddles very strongly, a white knuckled paddler. Okay, so a white knuckle ride, screwing and going upwards and downwards. The thrills and spills of the white knuckle rides make it a day that your kids will never forget. Okay, so white knuckle is when you're just holding so tight your knuckles go white, normally because of fear or nervous tension. White knuckle, formality. I think I'm going to give it a 4 in formality. I think use it anywhere except for something very formal. So, white knuckle.